The palliative nurses and others had told us that we should be very tactile with Wendy, stroke her head, hold and clutch her hand, and make her aware that we were there for her and to talk to her. On the Friday night, it was quite clear that Wendy's condition had taken a step downwards, and all three of us generally thought that the end was near, and it would more or less take the form of her breathing gradually slowing down and stop. But although her breathing did slow down and she became less and less, she was more or less, I suppose, asleep or unconscious at this point. She was still breathing at a shallow but steady rate, and Celia had been advised by the nurses that everything at this stage would depend on Wendy's heart. She's always been very athletic, and this, and as a result, the opinion we got and the impression we received was that Wendy could go into a coma, but still stay alive, as it were, for several days to come. We'd all three of us talked to Wendy in various ways, and I found myself, half to my shame, talking in cliches, saying, we're all here for you, darling. Take your time. When you're ready, just let go. And I'd be stroking her hair as I said this and holding her hand, but there was no real response, and Wendy's eyes were shut tight at this time. But it was very evident that she was on a increasingly steep downward slope. Her hands were becoming cold, and one always said that one was always read that the hands and feet become cold, but I couldn't believe just how cold they became. And they were her hands were in a kind of a permanent, slightly curled form that allowed for hand holding, but without any awareness of the sensation. I'd never seen somebody die. I've seen dead people, my sister and my mother, but they had been quite clearly dead for some time. For some hours, and though distressing or upsetting because of their relationship with me, I had reservations about seeing them dead, but I coped. This was my first experience of watching and waiting for somebody to die. Somebody to whom whom I had loved and lived with for 55 years. And it was ghastly. See this happening, but in a funny way, well, not in a funny way, but Wendy's face and skin smoothed over, and some of the distressing aspects of her appearance during her dementia seemed to go, and she acquired a special beauty which instilled in me an overwhelming love, some guilt at the feelings I'd had about her and about the cost of her care even, and her behaviour at the care home. But it was, I found myself stroking her, holding her hands, talking to her, bursting into uncontrollable tears, much as I am now thinking about it. And I no longer wished, except for her sake, for her to die. I would have been content if in some strange way, if she could continue like this, that I could hold her hand and talk to her. But come late evening, Saturday night, her breathing suddenly went very, very slow. The nurse came in and said, should they change her? Was it ready for it to change her? And they checked her medication, gave her the pain-killing and relaxant drugs, and as we normally did, we left the room. And in this funny way, we then ate some pizza that David had arranged to be delivered.